Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are bringing our regular season to a close with this video with you guys, these set of videos that we have for you today on this Friday night slate. Got about 10 games on the slate tonight. Either way, really big slate. It is the last weekday of this last week of the regular season. So as I said, check back with us on Monday as we'll start getting into some of the play-in games, take a look at the playoffs ahead and some of that stuff starting the top of next week. But in this one, we are going to take a look at the Heat playing host to the Atlanta Hawks. Heat, nothing to play for. Number 1 seed all locked up in the East. Atlanta has a couple things to play for. Could overtake Brooklyn for the 8 seed. Could also fall backwards. So they do need to win tonight a little bit more so than Miami. Miami's going to have a few guys out, but still plenty to look at in this game for sure. We'll take a look at some of the best bets in here with you guys. Nate has his great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And do like and subscribe to that page. Got a couple other videos up for you today, including our final regular season player props video that we'll look to end super strong with you guys on. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, and more than ever, we have to emphasize refreshing that injury page, which I'm doing now as we record, but surely more info will come out in the afternoon. But that doesn't mean you should be pivot off your picks too much. Shout out to the Celtics, still covering, still going way over without Tatum and Horford last night. Nice little parlay cash for anybody who followed me there. So for the Heat, I am thinking, we're seeing the spread move here, first of all, from Miami favored by about 2 to now underdogs by 2, even though only backups are listed as questionable right now, bench players, and PJ Tucker is out. So we'll see if any other starters sit. I don't think they're going to. I think they need some continuity for sure. With one game left against Orlando on Sunday, they can rest then. Even if you play tonight, you have 10 or really 11 days off before you get into any sort of playoff game, probably, because you have to wait out the whole play-in tournament. So you're going to get rusty more than you're going to get rest if you literally just shut it down at this point. The total at 230 in that game, it's dropped a little bit as the Hawks have become slightly bigger favorites, which is kind of the opposite direction I would expect the trend to go. But yeah, looking at the other 9 games here, the Knicks are at a pick 'em at Washington, only playing for pride there. Bucks minus 4.5 at Pistons because they're on a back-to-back, but Bucks are fighting for that 2 seed, or maybe they're fighting to get out of the 2 seed to avoid the Nets. I don't think they're ducking anybody, though. Rockets plus 11 at the Raptors, who continue to streak. The Cavs are plus 8.5 at Brooklyn. That's a key game. Both teams are going to be trying for sure. They're in the 7-8 matchup. Brooklyn's probably going to win and overtake Cleveland for that 7 spot. Another key playing game for implications there is the Hornets plus 2.5 at Bulls. We're going to break that one down for you. Total up at 233 right now. The Hornets pretty much stuck in that 10 spot, but can try to gain some momentum and win to move up, and the Bulls desperately need some momentum. Blazers tanking plus 17 at Dallas. Suns probably resting a few guys, plus 1.5 at Utah, and then the Thunder plus 6 at the laughingstock Lakers. So Hawks, Heat, division matchup. Heat have taken 2 of the 3 this season. All 3 been pretty low scoring, despite the fact that Bam missed the first 2. And then Bam was just coming back from his thumb injury in the 3rd game, where Atlanta scored a 110-108 win. I think we would see a completely different line if we knew for sure Bam, Lowry, Jimmy, Hero, they're all playing. I mean, there's nothing to indicate yet that they aren't. And as I said, I think the Heat would be very wise to just play their guys, get a little bit of a playoff feel going for them, which they've done over their last 5 games, turning it way up since kind of that Butler-Spoelstra spat mid-game. They've won 5 straight, including some real quality wins at Boston, at Toronto, at Chicago, and 126 offensive rating and allowing just 106 points per game in that span, playing like the excellent two-way team they are. And, the key for Miami is, they might see this Hawks team in the playoffs in the 1-8 spot. So, first of all, I don't think they're going to hold anything back. They're not the type of team to duck anybody or play games like that. They're just going to go out there and show that they're better than you, and they exert their will on you and probably try to take away the Hawks' spirit a little bit before they potentially face them. And they have taken away Trae Young, and that's the key here, because Trae just carrying the Hawks in his last 5 games, 32.5 points, 10.5 assists with a 131 offensive rating. In his last 10 versus Miami, 21 points, 7 assists, nearly 6 turnovers, and a 103 rating. And then in Miami, it is way, way worse in 7 career games, 16 points, shooting 38% from the field, struggling with ball security. And the Hawks are bad on the road in general. They've failed to cover in 7 straight on the road against winning teams. They're 4-7 straight up, 9th worst defensive rating on the road since the break. They have the worst cover percentage in the NBA when listed as road dogs. Now they are favorites because this line is flipped, as people are pretty much just reading a quick article in terms of like, oh, Hawks have something to play for. He don't. I'm going to hit that Hawks. But again, I'm gonna go to the mat here, saying the Heat are going to play one more game hard. They have Orlando on Sunday. They can rest anybody then, and that you'd rather not have rust than rest here in this situation with the whole week off after this. So Miami money line, that's my bet. I don't really have anything else I want to look at. I just want to take Miami to win.
That's my bet, and I'm sticking to it. No qualms from me, honestly. I mean, if you're talking about Miami beating the Hawks while they're at home and the Hawks are on the road, that's not exactly a hot take, right? I mean, at home on the season, Miami playing well enough to the tune of I believe they've got 28-12 straight up, right, at home on the season. When they're listed as home favorites, they're 24-11 straight up on the season. They go 24-11 to the over as well when they're home favorites as well. I know they're not favorites. This line has moved a bit. There's nothing telling us, as you mentioned, that at least 2 or 3 of those guys that you mentioned, Hero, Bam, Kyle Lowry, et cetera, that they're going to play. A couple of guys, like you mentioned, Gabe Vincent probably is going to sit tonight. And so it probably the same for year 7. Markeith still trying to come back. Caleb Martin also likely going to sit. Dwayne Dedmon. So, I mean, yeah, they're pretty much their bench, right, at this point, which is helpful for them. They have a good bench. Obviously, Hero coming in and being the likely 6th man of the year as well really contributes to that. But I think really what this is about for me, man, is actually the under. And I know that isn't something that people want to take when, like I just said, Miami 24-11 to that over when they're home favorites, and really still also very good at home. Slightly worse cover percentage in terms of the over when they're just at home. But like either way, I think there's a little bit of overvalue here in terms of that total because of the fact that the Heat have been going over at home, like we said, a little bit, pretty much all season, definitely as of late. But you look at their last 2 home games, and the reason they went over there, they played the Kings and the Hornets, who, as you mentioned, the Kings haven't played defense since like 2007, and the Hornets, right, they're right back into their super fast-paced ways, playing at a high speed there and shooting very, very well from deep, which is why that game also went over. Not playing much defense, by the way, are the Hornets, which is why Miami was able to put up 144. But the Hawks, as bad as they are on defense on the road, and really as much worse as they are on the road, which I know is why you like them to lose tonight, because I think Miami will still be bringing it, to your point, enough that they could beat the Hawks, who are a bad team on the road. They're pretty much a bottom 10 team on the road. I think there's also value in the fact that the Hawks aren't going to be able to score tonight. You talk about Trae Young, his last 7 in Miami specifically. This is what we've been targeting a couple other times since last season, really, in terms of props, is Trae Young playing Miami, especially Trae Young playing in Miami, where he scores 16 points a game, 8 assists, which is good for most players in the NBA, but is still below his season average this season. And shooting 32%, 31% really from deep. That 38% field goal percentage, also very, very bad for a guy who's getting shots in the lane. He's not getting a lot of shots in the lane, and Miami obviously is as good as they are on defense all over the floor, second best 3-point to their opponent 3-point percentage to their opponent. They also are in the top 5 in terms of limiting teams to score in the paint as well, especially when Bam is out there versus when Bam is not out there. Huge difference there. So I think everything that Atlanta likes to do, especially use Trae Young to win games, they're not going to have at their disposal tonight. And 229 is just way too high. Just to finish the point about Miami and their totals and the overs, they have, even in their last 5 wins, they've only gone over 220, or I'm sorry, even in their last 10 games, they've only gone over the total that it is tonight one time. Just once. And if it's all the way, it's at 230.5 right now. We're talking about their last 12 games that they've only done that once, right? In terms of on the road, at Miami at home. And then you're talking about Atlanta on the road as well. All those games continue to go under because of the fact that they can't score. Their 3-point percentage way worse. They get to the line 4 less times a game when they're on the road versus at home, which is something crucial for them, as we know, with that pick and roll with Clint Capella diving to the rim. So, there's just a lot to like in the under here. I would definitely prefer Miami, especially if the spread gets up to about 3, even 3.5 for Atlanta. Love to hit Miami at that point, even on the money line. But I think my preferred bet, no matter what, that I feel most confident is the under.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you on that. The reason I'm throwing caution on it is because I think we could still get like Jimmy Butler out rest. And then I think the Heat's approach changed completely. I mean, that's the reason they've gone over so unexpectedly consistently this season, is because all of a sudden one of their 2 key leaders or defensive players is sitting. And then it's all of a sudden it's the Tyler Hero show, where he gets a huge usage rate and he can't stop anybody on the other end. Duncan Robinson, more playing time. Duncan Robinson getting picked on as well on the defensive end. So I just think there's a lot of unknowns in terms of how the Heat are going to win this game. I think they are still going to try to win this game, even if it's just like Hero and Bam and some G Leaguers. I think they can still go out there and just say #Heat culture. We're going to beat the Hawks. But they are underdogs now. So looking at those numbers, those are even more impressive in terms of them winning. 17-6 against the spread, covering by 9 points per game as underdogs. 4 out of 5 as home dogs, covering by 13 points per game. Wow. Much like the Bucks as well, they do like to exert their dominance in the division. 12-2 straight up, 9-4-1 against the spread in division games. And again, beat Atlanta in 2 out of 3, despite not having Bam for a couple of those. And with Bam in there, Capella's probably a non-factor. It is all on Trae and Bogey basically from deep. They're still missing John Collins. And so I think that Miami can win in a variety of ways here. But I think that the under is definitely a fine bet, the way they've locked up lately, allowing just 106. I'm not trying to steer anybody away from that. I would just prefer to get the injury report in the afternoon before you start targeting the total with the Heat to try to predict how they're going to win.
I feel that the thing that's interesting is I don't think this, no matter what happens with these people coming in and out of these lineups, I don't think the spread gets above 230, 231 max. I don't know how, if you're betting a game that has the Miami Heat playing in it, especially with their defense at home, I don't get how you feel comfortable betting an over at like 230, 231 with the Miami Heat playing, right? If guys start to sit and people think, oh, the Atlanta can score, great, I'll continue to hit the under, but I'm kind of feeling hitting the under at 230 because I don't think it'll rise very much. I don't think there's going to be any value to that it'll increase for you in terms of that EV. So I would hit it now if you do like that under. And then, this spread is -1.5 right now. So, it might continue to rise as well in the favor of the Hawks. And if you do see Jimmy sit and this thing go up by another 2 to 3, I'm feeling even better about hitting the Heat there, to your point, when they're not expected to win, then they come out and #Heat culture. So that is all the time we have for you today. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Got a couple other videos up for you on our last regular season video for you guys this year. So until we see you next, happy betting.